Talmud Torah keneged kulam, right? We already said on yesterday in the shiur and the darash over here. So what does that mean? That the most important mitzvah in the Torah is Talmud Torah, to learn the Torah. So in order to understand why that's so important, we have to learn the halachot, we have to learn the midrashim, the stories that are behind all this, right? So number one, as the pasuk says, there's a verse in the Torah. It says like this, right? Im lo briti yomam v'layla, chukot hashamayim v'aretz lo samti. That's what it says in the verse, right? What does that mean? This verse? It means that if it wasn't for the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had the Torah, He wouldn't have even at all made the world. He wouldn't make the world without that. The only reason He really made the world is because of Talmud Torah. We should study Torah. Why is that? Because the Torah, what is the Torah? The Torah is basically the mind of God. That's what it is, It's not like other religions that are man-made. Somebody made up some things. He said something. He had some dreams at night. He came up with some things. Our Torah is not a man-made Torah. Our Torah comes from Shamayim. It comes from Hashem. It's the mind of God, right? They say that the Torah was created actually before the world was created. It was around before. That's what it says, right? In the books of Shlomo HaMelech and Mishlei, that the world was around before that. The Torah was around before the world. So what happens is that they say, the Chazal, it says in the Zohar Kadosh, it says in the Midrashim, that how did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create the world? He looked into the Torah and He created the world from the Torah. So what does that mean? That the world is only a function of the Torah, basically. That's what it is. It's a function of the Torah. What does that mean? That all the concepts that you see in the world, all the things that go on, all the phenomenon that we have, all these kinds of things, are all basically a byproduct of they're a byproduct of the Torah. That's what they are. All the concepts that we see, the good, the evil, the bad, all these kinds of things, right? The good characters, the bad characters, all these things, they're a product of the Torah. Even the evil, by the way, that goes on in the world, the Rashaim, the wicked, all the things that they do, all the crimes that they commit, also that as well is from the Torah. What does that mean? That the Torah delineates all the boundaries of good and evil. Everything is coming from there. So what does that mean? That you have to understand one thing. When a person learns Torah, what is he really learning? He's learning how the world functions. When you learn something from the Ritva, from the Rashba, from the Tosfot, from Rashi, all those mamarim, all those opinions that they wrote in halakha, in the commentary on the Talmud, and all kinds of things like this, commentary on the Bible, all these things are basically one facet of the world. That's what it is. The world functions on the opinions of the Torah. The several commentaries of the Torah. The world goes on that. So everything is a function of the Torah, basically. So that's why, right, everywhere you look, if you see in the Chazal, by the way, right, you see in Pirkei Avot, they always tell you, right, on three things the world stands. There are several different versions of that, by the way, what those three things are. But always the Torah is one of them. No matter what, right? The other ones interchange sometimes, right? Some say it's chesed, some say it's avodah, right? All kinds of opinions like this. Avodah, what does that mean, avodah? That means the avodah in the Bet HaMikdash, the sacrifices that were brought there. Today we don't do that. So what comes to replace that? That we read the avodah, we read the korbanot, right? We read the way the korbanot are brought, and the fact that we read it is considered to be like we brought the korbanot themselves. That's one facet, but the most important facet is always the Torah. This is the idea. So what does the Torah tell us regarding this in Torah? It says, "V'hagita bo yomam b'layla." That's what it says, right? What does that mean? You have to study Torah day and night. What is the meaning of that? The meaning of that is that whenever you have free time, a free moment, you always have to open up a book, or now you have your telephone, you can open up and see something there, check some sources, see lectures, all kinds of things. So a person, when he has a free moment, always has to open up and start learning Torah. That's the idea. One time, they asked a certain rabbi, they said, are you allowed to learn also secular subjects as well? For the sake of just becoming wise, to acquire wisdom. Secular subjects. So, they answered with this pasuk. He said, Ve'agita yomam v'layla. So what does that mean? It tells you that you have to study Torah day and night. So what does that mean? It says, if there's a time which is not day and night, you can study other things. That's what he said, right? Otherwise, right? So we don't have such a time like that, right? Either it's day or it's night, right? There's nothing in between. So therefore, a person should, dedicate his time to Torah. This is what we're saying, right? And there's also the concept of bitul Torah. What does that mean? Bitul Torah, that a person could have studied Torah and he didn't study Torah, right? That's called bitul Torah. What does that mean? That this is considered to be a very big sin, that a person had time, but he didn't want, for some reason, to learn Torah, and he wanted to do something else instead. The truth is, that this has many different variations and all kinds of details that the person has to understand in order to understand these things. But just telling you the basic outline, right, of the idea. So comes and tells us Shulchan Aruch, like this, right? It says, Kol ish Yisrael chayav b'Talmud Torah. Everybody's obligated in Talmud Torah. What does that mean? No matter who you are, any Jew, right? Are women obligated? So the answer is no, right? The women are obligated to Talmud Torah. We're going to discuss that later on, by the way, what they should really do, practically speaking, because they also have to know a lot of things, If they don't know how to kosher, their kitchen and keep it kosher, if they don't know how to go to the mikveh, the lady, so what kind of life is that? So she has to know some Torah in order to do the practical things in Judaism, to fulfill the practical things in Judaism. Otherwise, you can't have a wife like that. So there are certain things that they have to learn and know. But what are we talking about? The Mitzvah of Talmud Torah is like a systematic kind of thing. What does that mean? You start from Aleph Bet. If you don't know how to read, first you got to do Aleph Bet. That's number one. Don't just say, I'm gonna learn those books in English, Art Scroll, and these kinds of Feldheim. I'm gonna rely on that. That's no good. If a person doesn't know Aleph Bet, he doesn't know how to read Hebrew. So number one thing he has to do is to learn Aleph Bet. Right? That's the idea. That's the first part of the Torah. That is also Torah. What does that mean? That the letters of the Torah are considered to be the number one issue in Torah. Without that, there's no foundation for anything else. So if a person doesn't know how to read, that's the first thing he has to do. Right? And you should know, by the way, according to Kabbalah, according to Zohar Kadosh, the world is built on that, on those letters. Right? Every letter has a function in the world. And without that letter, the world wouldn't exist. So what does that mean? That every letter that you learn, there's very big secrets over there in those letters as well. Big sodot also. Big secrets on what those letters mean. According to the Kabbalah, according to the Sod. So number one is, first of all, gotta learn the letters. That's number one. Right? But once you know how to read, what's the next step? So we have to understand, right? So first of all, we're telling you that everybody's obligated to learn. So what does that mean? Whether he's sick, he's old, he's young, he doesn't feel good, right? Whatever it is, all kinds of situations like this, he has to learn Torah anyway. That's the idea, right? Women are not obligated, but all men are. This is the idea. What is the reason why Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Torah, exempted women from learning Torah? What's the reason why? Because they have also other jobs they need to do, the women. To take care of the house, to raise the children, right? To take care of the home, to do the housework, to do all these things. Since they have to do all these things, you can't have a jack of all trades, right? Taking care of the home and also studying Torah. You can't do everything in this world. Everybody has to have a certain direction in his life, some kind of a profession that he has. So the profession of the woman is to hold the family up, so the family is functioning properly. This is the job of the woman. So since they have to do that, they're exempted from Talmud Torah, because Talmud Torah is a full-time job, you know what I mean? Not something you can just do on the side. A little bit here, a little bit there. Whatever a person can do, obviously. But the idea is that all the men, though, are required to learn Torah. So what do they say, the Chazal, regarding that, right? Whether you're rich also, whether you're poor. Don't say, I'm rich, so I'm not required to learn Torah. You know what I'll do? I'll just support the Torah. I'll give money to the yeshivot, I'll give money to the kollel, and I'll fulfill the obligation with that. It's not really true, this kind of thing. What does that mean? Even if you're wealthy, even if you're well off and you're doing well, nevertheless you still have to learn Torah. Right? Don't say, I'll just donate money. I'll buy it, I'll buy. So the truth is, by the way, that a person can do that. If he cannot learn for some reason, really, he's not able to learn at all. Let's say he has some kind of impediment in his brain, some kind of problem. He doesn't have acumen, he cannot absorb the material, all kinds of problems people have. So there are some people who can't really learn at all, because if they have a problem with their mind. So that person really should donate money, and support the Torah with his money. And he's considered to be like he learned the Torah himself. But if a person is able to, he has the intellect, he has the acumen, so you cannot just say, let other people learn, I'll just support them. That's not enough. A person has to learn himself also. That's the idea. They say, right, that even there's a famous story of Issachar and Zevulun, right? That Issachar was learning Torah and Zevulun was supporting them with business, going out to make money. So they say, right, that even the Zevulun, the one who goes out to do business and make money and support the Torah, they also have to learn some Torah as well. They should also be learning something. They're not exempt. The Chazal teach us that all those tribes, by the way, whether it was Issachar, whether it was Zevulun, and Yehuda as well, right? All these tribes, they were all expert in Torah, even though they had their respective jobs, they had their respective positions, whatever it is. Nevertheless, they had to also study Torah. So it comes out, the Chazal tell us that they were all expert in Torah, these people, every one of them.
Anybody has a white BMW outside?
Okay, so you got the idea. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So, as we said, that a person cannot exempt himself just because he's wealthy or whatever, anything like that. Also, there are people who say, "Oh, I'm so poor, I cannot learn Torah." Also, there's also another Yetzer Hara that comes in. I'm too poor, I'm depressed. I don't have the proper state of mind because I'm down. I don't feel confident. I don't have the confidence. I feel very insecure. I can't learn Torah. I'm psychologically not fit for that. Why? Because I'm poor. So Torah tells you, right? No, don't say these kinds of things, right? Whatever you may be, whether you're poor, whether you're rich, whether your health is not so good, whatever it may be, or if your health is very, very good. Also, there are people who make other kinds of excuses as well. They say, what do they say? They say, I'm a very good-looking guy. So what happens is that my Yetzer Hara is very big. I can't learn Torah, because all the girls are chasing me. So, I'm too busy with the girls, So the Yetzer Hara doesn't allow me to learn Torah. So it comes and tells you, no, don't make these kind of excuses. Right? Whatever your predicament may be, whether you're a very good-looking guy. So what do they say? They say that regarding all these excuses that people have, who comes and teaches you the example for these things? Right? When it comes to the poor, who's the one who teaches you that even when you're poor you have to study Torah? Hillel HaZaken, right? They say about Hillel HaZaken that he was so poor when he was young, he didn't have money even to go into the Bet HaMidrash, to go into the yeshiva. Why? Because in those days what happened was that they used to charge a minimal amount to get in there. There was like a entrance fee. What was the reason why they had an entrance fee like that? Because they had to support the expenses of the yeshiva. So, everybody had to give a little bit, donate something a little bit to go inside, and therefore they can, have the lights and they can take care of the furniture and all kinds of things, right? In order that they should be able to study Torah, they have expenses, right? There's expenses. It's not cheap to run a yeshiva. It's not cheap to run a synagogue. People know, right? The people who are gabayim, they know how much money it costs. It's a tremendous amount of money that it costs, right? Whatever. But nevertheless, whatever it is, right? Hillel, what happened was that even though he didn't have money, they say, to go into the Bet HaMidrash. He was so poor like that. He was only making a small amount of money every day. He was a worker, laborer, very, very poor. In the end, he became rich, by the way, right? That's what happened. But we're talking about when he was young. So what did he do? They say, right, what he would do is, even though he wasn't able to go into Bet HaMidrash because he wasn't able to pay the entrance fee, what he did was he used to go up on the roof, Krishaze, he used to go up there, and through the chimney he would listen to what they were saying. That's how So what does that mean? The Chazal tell us, Hillel mechayev ta'anim, that Hillel is the one who obligates the poor. What does that mean? That if you come and try to say, I was poor, they'll tell you, but Hillel was also poor. You see? So there's no excuse.
Question, is this the same Hillel that was always against Beit Shammai?
Yeah, this is the same guy, right? Same guy, yes. It's called the Hillel HaZaken, the elder. Hillel the elder, right? That's the idea. We also have Shammai the elder, right, as well, right? They were both elders, right? They were both great big elders. So what happened was that Hillel used to go like this. One day, right, this famous story goes that it was a snowy day, right, frosty day that day. So he went up to the roof to listen to the Divrei Torah, and then they found him over there that he froze, from the frost, and he couldn't move, right, whatever. So you see from there how devoted he was. So a person cannot say, I was poor, I wasn't able. They're going to say, what about Hillel? Right? He got you, huh? You have no excuses. That's number one, right? If you're going to tell people, oh, I was so good looking, I wasn't able to learn Torah because the girls were always chasing me, I had all kinds of, on Facebook they were contacting me, on the websites, this and that. So what they'll tell you is like this, right? Well, you're better looking than Yosef HaTzadik, right? Well, you're better looking than him. He also studied Torah, even though he was good looking. The girls were chasing him, right? He was a very good looking guy, but nevertheless, he studied Torah, right? So you see from there that everything you try to say, all these excuses, they'll bring you somebody who was able to refute your excuse. That's the idea, right? There's no excuse like that. The person has to know, right? That you're obligated no matter what to all these kinds of things. Unless you can't physically do it, that's something else. Physically, if you can't do it, you can't do it. That's a different issue. Okay, so it goes on to tell you, right, that since we said the verse says, Ve'agita bo yomam v'layla, that means that a person has to study also in the morning, in the daytime, and also at night. There's an obligation to study. So it's not enough just to do one chavruta in the morning, and then night not to learn at all. It cannot be like that, right? Has to be also a person learns at night as well. They say, by the way, that the night is even more important than the day. In other words, if you take a comparison test, which one is the more crucial one? The night is more crucial. Why is the night more crucial than the day? Because they say that the night was created for Torah more than the daytime. What's the reason why the night is more created like that? Because in the daytime people are working, they're busy with their chores, running around, hustling, to make a buck, going here, going there. They don't have time for so much to learn. But at night, when it's quiet and people are sleeping, and now there's really, really time, you have a little bit quiet downtime, a little bit to learn Torah. So if you don't take advantage of that time, right, that's considered to be even worse. That's the idea, right? So therefore, a person has to know that the nighttime is even more crucial for learning Torah. According to Kabbalah, also there's very deep things about this. Why the night is even better. We're talking about after midnight, after 1 o'clock at 1 a.m., right, which is the midnight of the Jews. So over there, they say that if you learn Torah after that, there's a special, very big special zechut that a person gets. They say that if he learns Torah, chut chesed melaveh oto kol hayom. The next day he gets a chut of chesed, a band of kindness he gets. He gets a special grace from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If he studies Torah after midnight, right, like David HaMelech used to do. He would get up, at midnight, and he would study until the morning. That's what he used to do. All the Mekubalim, by the way, also did like that. All the big Kabbalists and the Zohar Kadosh, until this day, all the big Mekubalim, what they do is, they sleep in the first part of the night, then at Chatzot, right, Chatzot HaLayla, they get up, they start to learn Torah, and learn until the morning, and then they pray, right, Shachrit and Netz HaChama, and then they go about their whatever they need to do, right? And make up some sleep, go to work, whatever it is they need to do, right? Have some breakfast, whatever it is they need to do, they do afterwards. But that second part of the night is solely devoted to Torah. That's according to the big people, right? The big Mekubalim. Okay, whatever. But anyway, getting back to what we said. Yilmod Adam Torah v'chakach isa isha. So regarding the timing, right, tells you something interesting. When should a person start learning Torah? So they say the truth is that a person should try to do that before he gets married. Right? According to the Talmud, according to the Shulchan Aruch, what's the reason why? Once you get married, you know how it is, right? You've got enough support of family. You have a yoke on your neck, the yoke of the support of the family. So you got to go around, open up a business, go here, go there, whatever, all kinds of things. So they say that's the reason why a person should try to learn before he gets married. Because if he doesn't, once he gets married, it's not going to be so easy to get that fundamental, foundation of learning. That's why we open up these yeshivot, right, that teach the children until they get married. Yeshiva bachar. You have a yeshiva bachar, a person who learns in yeshiva. That's the very crucial time. It's a time of development, because if he doesn't have that crucial time before he gets married, he may never be able to develop himself like that after he gets married, because he won't have time. He's going to be working. So that's the reason why a person should try to learn. So what does that mean? That a parent who has a child should try to direct him like that, in this direction. Send him to yeshiva, Don't tell him, go to Forest Hills High School and then go to, Queens College and get a degree and that's it. So when is he going to learn Torah like that? And tell him to do like that. Where is he going to get his Torah? He's going to be Amaretz all his life. He's not going to know nothing, right? He's not going to know barely how to read, right, the Chumash. He's not going to know like that. If you raise your child like that. So a person has an obligation to raise his child in this direction. To point him in this direction, you know what I mean? To teach him Torah. What does that mean? Before he gets married. The truth is now, it's a little bit different. You know why? Because today we have kolelim. What does kolim mean? Right? It's not. We're not talking about these kolim that we have over here. That they're eating dinner over there. And hearing some divrei Torah. That's not a real kollel. A kollel, you know what that is? That means they sit there all day and learn Torah from morning till night. That's the idea. What does that mean? These guys are married, right? And they can't work because they're sitting and learning all day. So they give them some kind of a salary, right? To sit there, and their wife helps them a little bit, and the parents and the in-laws, right? They support them, a little bit from here, a little bit from there, right? All kinds of things, and they finish the month like that. That's the idea. So what happens is, right, that these kolim now help us. Why? Because we're able to support these young, married men who wanted to become rabbis, want to become Talmidei Chachamim. If it wasn't for that, they'd have to go out to work, and therefore they wouldn't be able to develop themselves as a rabbi, right? What kind of rabbi is it? A rabbi who doesn't have education after he got married. That's not a rabbi, he's Amaretz, right? What does that mean? There are some people who became rabbis, they left the yeshiva early. They took them, when they were 18 years old, 19 years old, they took them out and they put them in to be a rabbi. So when is that guy going to get his education to learn more Torah, to learn advanced learning? He never had a chance. So, that's not good. So that's the reason why, before a person becomes a rabbi, he takes a job as, in a synagogue or a community, he should first develop his knowledge, until the age of, let's say around 30, that would be the ideal thing, 30, 35, learn for 10, 15 years in a kollel, and then he's already, got the shoulders now to go in and to become a rabbi. That's the idea, right? So this is the reason why they tell us to learn before we get married. But nowadays, Baruch Hashem, we have a solution for that. A person can find a kollel. Usually you can find one. In Israel, there's many, right? We have I think all over the world, they say that now there's about 50,000 avrechim that are learning Torah all day. Married young men. Baruch Hashem, Who's supporting them? Donors, the people who are mostly from the Syrian community, these people are. Also from the Ashkenazim, many, also from the Ashkenazim as well. But the Syrians are supporting these institutions, even the ones that Ashkenazi institutions are supporting. They're supporting a lot. So Baruch Hashem should have blessed them. What can I tell you? If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have 50,000 avrechim learning Torah today like we have today. It's unbelievable, right? It's not something which happens in every generation, like something like that. It's a Torah renaissance that we have, Baruch Hashem, going on today. This is the reason why we're able to do that. So it goes on to tell you, right? Until what day is a person required to learn Torah? Until the day he dies, lo aleinu. Right? That's the idea, right? So you shouldn't think, now I'm a senior citizen, and I'm on Social Security, so I don't have to learn anymore. Now I did my learning. I paid my dues. Right? It doesn't work like that. What do you mean you paid your dues? You have to learn until the last day that you have a breath in your body. That's the idea, right? So a person has to go all the way until the end, until he has no more breath in his body to learn Torah. This is the idea. So what does that mean, right? There's a famous story about the Chafetz Chaim, they say, right? That they say that when he was old already, so what happened was that he already finished. He wrote, several books, which are very important books, that we use today. The Mishnah Berurah, the Chafetz Chaim, all these books that he wrote, we use them on a daily basis today, right? Everybody knows that. So these books, what happened was that once he was at a certain age, he finished all of them, basically. He was done. That's it, done. That's it. So what they say, right, that the Yetzer Hara came to him at that time and told him, they said, Rabbi, okay, now you're done pretty much. You've done your job. So take a rest a little bit. Go on vacation. To go to the Bahamas. Be careful with the storms over there, right? Go to the Bahamas. Go to the Riviera. Go to take a rest a little bit. That's it. You've done your job. So he says you're old man already. That's it. You're retired. Go into retirement. So he answered the Yetzer Hara. He answered him. He says Naval. He says, you low life. He says, who's older? You're older than me. And you're telling me to rest. He tells him, you should rest. You're the one who should rest. You go rest because you're older than me. What does that mean? Why do you tell him that you're older than me? What's the reason why? Because they say, right, that the Yetzer Hara comes into a child when he's born, right away. And the Yetzer Hara only comes at the age of 13 when he's bar mitzvah. So he told him, he said, you're 13 years older than me, and you're coming and telling me, right, you should go and retire. Tells him, leave me alone. That's the idea, right? So we learn from there this idea that a person has to learn Torah. The truth is, right, if a person is really smart, you should know, what really happens in his life. Most people, they're working when they're young. 40, 50, 60. Once they hit, 75 and 80, if they get to that age, so what happens is that they have all the free time in the world now. They're retired, they're living on pensions, they're living on Social Security, living on this kind of things. So that means that what? That a person like this, who's like a pensioner, person who's living on pensia, he should now go and sit and learn Torah all day. What are you doing? You're sitting at home and drinking lemonade? What kind of thing is that, right? That's a person who's retired. That's what they do in Israel, by the way. The people who get retired over there, they go and sit and learn Torah. They go to some synagogue where there's like all-day program of learning Torah for senior citizens. There's rabbis who come and give lectures over there, like Musayov, the famous Bet Knesset in Yerushalayim. It's called Musayov. It's a Bukharian shul, but it's a very big operation there, like big shtiblach. There's many minyanim go there, but there's also rabbis coming there day and night giving lectures over there, from day till night. It costs money, but nevertheless, right, this is a very big zechut for the tzibur, that there's always like this, who comes over there? The people who are working, they don't have time to be there all day. The people who are learning yeshiva, they can't come there. Who comes over there? Pensionerim, the senior citizens, Social Security guys. They come over there, and they learn Torah, like we said, right, until the last day that a person is here. That's what he has to do. That's the idea. Okay, very good. Let's go on, right? As we said, so regarding now, how should a person set up a program to learn Torah? He wants to learn Torah. He's willing to take the time out. Question is, what should I do? How should I learn, right? Should I go now to the bookstore, right, Judaica store, buy some art scroll books, and start learning like that? How should I do it, right? What book should I buy? If I go there, what should I buy? Which book should I buy? There's so many books now, right? They're all translated into English and this language and Russian and this and that, all kinds of things. So what should I do? How do we go about that? So it tells you, right, the Shulchan Aruch, that there's also a program here. There's a system. What does that mean? The first thing that a person has to learn when he's young, when he starts out to learn, he has to learn Bible, first of all, right? 24 books of the Bible, Tanakh. This is what he has to learn. Some people like to jump right away into the bigger things, They think they're dreaming big. They're large people, They think large. They say, let me jump into Kabbalah now, Kabbalah and this. What Kabbalah? You haven't learned yet the Bible? You're talking about Kabbalah? What? How does a person get ahead of himself like that, right? He start talking about things which are not shaykh to him. They're not relevant to him at all. You know what I mean? So a person has to know. Number one is to learn the Bible. What does that mean? Take the Chumash and start to learn word by word, what these things mean. Don't just rely on other people to tell you what it says in the Chumash. You see for yourself. Pick up a Chumash and start to learn word by word the Chumash, the Targum, maybe a little bit Rashi also. Rashi is also very important to learn. It's a little bit tough to learn Rashi. The person has to make an effort to learn Rashi because Rashi is very deep. I'll tell you how deep Rashi is, by the way. You should know. I'm not talking about the Rashi on the Talmud. I'm talking about the Rashi on the Chumash. How deep is the Rashi in the Chumash? So they say, right, that the Balei Tosfot, who were, some of them were grandsons of Rashi, basically, right? They came from the same family. Rabbeinu Tam, right, and others as well, right? All these rabbis were grandsons. They came from the family of Rashi. They were grandsons. The Rashbam, right? Oh, another one. The Rashbam also was a grandson of Rashi. So all these people, you know what they said regarding the commentary of Rashi? They said if Rashi wouldn't have written the commentary on the Talmud, we would have been able to do it ourselves. The Balei Tosfot. We could have done it. No problem. But they said when it comes to the commentary on the Chumash, if Rashi wouldn't have done it, we couldn't have done that. It's very strange, right? You should think just the opposite. Because, the Talmud is much more complicated than the Chumash. That's basically, but no, they said the commentary of Rashi and the Chumash it's much deeper than the commentary on the Talmud. Right? So the truth is that the commentary of Rashi and the Chumash is quite deep. Every person understands on his own level. There's a lot of different layers over there. Right? What's the reason why, by the way, the commentary on the Rashi of Chumash is so deep like that? Because they say that Rashi was a Mekubal. He knew Kabbalah. He got a Masoret. You need to have a Masoret for that. You need to get a tradition to learn Kabbalah. You can't just learn it from books. Go open up some books, learn Kabbalah. Nobody can do that. You have to get a special rabbi for that. Special teacher, So Rashi had a Kabbalah. The Balei Tosfot did not have. Nobody taught them Kabbalah. So therefore they knew they were not on the level of Rashi when it comes to understanding the depths of the Torah like that. And this is the reason why they said, when it comes to the commentary in the Chumash, we couldn't have written that. That's the way, out of we're not in that league. That's not our league. Can you imagine? Okay, whatever. So that's the idea, right? So a person has to start learning Tanakh. Once he finishes the 5 books of Moses, then he has to do Nevi'im and Ketubim, right? Yoshua, Shoftim, Shemuel, Sefer Melachim, right? And then go on to the later prophets, right? Yeshayahu, Yirmiyahu, right? Treasar, Yechezkel. He has to go. Then do the Ketubim, right? What's a Ketubim? He has to learn Mishlei, right? And Tehillim. Tehillim is not something you just read. You should also learn the Tehillim. What does that mean? You got to learn also what the Perush is, the commentary there, you know? Not enough just to read the Tehillim. A person has to really know Tehillim. The Tehillim is so deep. You know, they say, right, that there's so many secrets in there. In the Tehillim, it's way deep. But nevertheless, at least on the surface, a person has to learn these things, right? And then to learn Sefer Daniel and Eov, all these books, all the 24 books of the Bible. A person has to systematically go and learn every one of them, like that. That's what he has to do. After that, right, but not after that. We're talking about, it says the Shulchan Aruch, that should be 1/3 of your day. Going on Tanakh, studying Tanakh. What does that mean? It says the Shulchan Aruch, let's say, right, for instance, the ideal situation would be like this. You are studying Torah 9 hours a day, and you're working 3 hours a day only, right? What does that mean? As the Chazal said, right? Minimize work and maximize Torah. That's what the person tried to do, if he can. Not everybody can do this, because people are obligated to go to jobs. You know, they won't let them work for 3 hours a day. They need them for 9 hours a day or 8 hours a day. That's something else. I'm not talking about that. But if a person already he's established in his life, and he has already the business going, he doesn't have to work all day. So therefore a person has time. So the ideal thing would be to learn 9 hours a day of Torah and 3 hours of work. This would be the ideal. Not everybody can do that. But what's the point? The point is, if you're learning 9 hours a day, it says the Shulchan Aruch, 3 hours of your day should be in Tanakh, in Bible study. Right? We're not talking about the Bible of the Christians. That's fake Bible, right? That's something else. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the Jewish Bible, 24 books. Right? That's what we're talking about. So that has to take 3 hours out of the day. And then what about the other 6 hours that you have? So you have to learn, right? 1/3 also goes to Mishnah, right? To Mishnah. If you think, right, if you hear the word Mishnah, you may think, oh, learn Mishnayot, Mishnayos. You know? It's not only talking about that. When we say Mishnah, we're talking about the oral Torah in general. What does that mean? The commentaries of the Torah, all kinds of, right, whether it's a midrash, or whether it's all kinds of halacha, all kinds of things like this. The oral Torah, the one that's not in the Bible, that oral Torah is called Mishnah. So a person has to accumulate knowledge in oral Torah, like that, systematically also, you know, going from one place to another. There's Mishnayot, there's Braitot, there's Tosefta, right, there's all kinds of, right, Sifra, Mechilta, all kinds of Midrashim, no end to it, right? A person has to also acquire knowledge in these kinds of things. That's called Mishnah. Also Halacha, right? Obviously, Halacha is very, very important. So that should be 1/3 of the day, acquiring knowledge in the oral Torah. This is the idea, right? What about it? What else do we have? So then we have the other 3 hours which are left over. What should that be for? For Talmud, right? So when we hear the word Talmud, we always think about Gemara, right? It's true, it's Gemara. That's a big part of the Talmud. But there's also the concept of Talmud is a general one. What does that mean? The Talmud means to understand the difference between the nuances between different opinions and different texts and different voices and different, right, the different versions of the story and different versions of the narrative, all these kinds of things. A person has to know how to reconcile and think in Torah also. See, this is considered to be, by the way, a very important part of the Torah. If a person really wants to be a Ben Torah, somebody who's really, proficient in Torah, he has to be also expert in this. What does that mean? He has to be expert in thinking in Torah, how to think properly. You know, they call that, right, the Rosh Yeshivas, they call that Dat Torah, Das Torah, that's the idea, right? Dat Torah, what does that mean, Dat Torah? That means that a person is able to maneuver in the Torah. To take this and learn from that something else, extrapolate, right, and derive something else. Pilpul, right? Pilpul, it means derivation. You take one thing and you apply it over here in something else, you move it around. This is the thinking in Torah. So a person has to spend a lot of time in this, especially if a person wants to be a Talmid Chacham, really, if he wants to be a Ben Torah, so he has to put a lot of time into this. You know why? Because they say, right, a person may have a lot of knowledge in Torah, but if he doesn't know how to think properly, he doesn't know how to derive, he doesn't know how to be mepalpel, he doesn't know how to extrapolate, all these kinds of things, what happens is that, you know what we call that? We call him Chamor Noseh Sfarim. What does that mean? He's a donkey who was laden with books on his back. He has a lot of books. In other words, if you ask him, oh, I know this book, I know what it says over there. But when it comes to thinking how to figure out one thing from another, or to apply it to something, he doesn't know how to do that. Right? He applies it the wrong way, he doesn't know how to derive, he doesn't know how to apply, he doesn't know how to plug in something the proper way. Doesn't know how to do these things. So a person like that is not really considered to be a Talmid Chacham. A person who doesn't have that level of being able to derive one thing from another. So therefore, 1/3 of the time has to go to this, to Talmud. What does Talmud mean? Derivation, right? Pilpul, extrapolation. This is thinking, application of concepts, applying things back and forth, going back and forth. Also, this involves a very, very important concept in Torah. You know what that is? Chidushim. What does that mean? That a person gets a new idea in Torah, which nobody ever said before. How do you do that? How do you say something new that nobody else ever said? Is that Torah? You made it up. Is that called Torah at all? So the answer is yes, it could be. You know why? Because if a person already learned how to do this derivation and application and pilpul and extrapolation, he knows how to do these things, he can come up with a new idea that was never said by anybody. And that's called Torah. How is that called Torah? You know why? Because he knows how to derive. He knows how to come up with conclusions. And therefore he can say something new. The truth is, they say, right, that every Jew, every neshama in this world, a Jewish neshama, has inside himself chidushim in Torah. That he can make new, novel ideas in Torah. Everybody has that potential, to unlock that potential. The only thing you have to do in order to unlock that is to get to that level, that you know how to think in Torah. Once you know how to think in Torah, you can make your own chidushim. You can only make your own novel ideas. And that's called Torah. They say, by the way, that if a person knows how to do this, and he does it the proper way, all these things were already said on Har Sinai. Even on Har Sinai, right? When HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the Torah to Moshe Rabbeinu, all these novel ideas that you made up, they were already said there. This is unbelievable, right? How can it be? I made it up. Nobody ever said it before. We never heard it before. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu told to Moshe Rabbeinu this perush already. This idea. How is that? Because since you know how to do the derivation properly, you're coming up with the right conclusions, like you think like God. So what does that mean? That a person who goes into the Torah, in the depths of the Torah like this, he's going into the mind of God. This is the idea, you know? So you're like, this is why HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? What did he say? Lo b'shamayim hi. What does that mean, lo b'shamayim hi? That means that once the Torah was given on Har Sinai, there's nothing new that can come from Hashem anymore. Everything was given already. So what does that mean? If you have a problem in Torah, you have a question, right? You don't have a dilemma. You don't know how to solve a problem. You can't now go, right, and ask Hashem again, you know? Oh, Hashem, you know, can you please, tell us that one again? Lo b'shamayim hi, right? Once it was given on Har Sinai, the Torah is here, now on earth. So what does that mean? You have to go to the rabbis. The rabbis know how to derive, they know how to make the derivation, they know how to draw a conclusion. Since they know how to do this, so therefore you got to go to them. It's now, the halacha is being decided here, not being decided in Shemaim anymore. This is the idea, right? So we see from here that the central theme of the Torah is to render decisions and novel ideas in Torah in this world. That's called chidushim, right? It's called piskei halacha. These things are considered to be also a very, very important aspect. How does a person get to that level? By learning Talmud. To know how to do these things, to know how to maneuver in Torah. This is the idea, right? This is already a high level, right? They say, by the way, how many people get to this level? Statistic-wise, percentage-wise, right? They're always taking polls, right? How many people support Trump? How many people support this Democrat guy, whatever, right? So, in terms of statistics, right? Let's say, they say the Chazal like this, something amazing. Let's say 1,000 people went in to study in Talmud Torah, first grade, right? Kita Aleph. They went to first grade. We all went to first grade, right? More or less, right? So most of us, I guess so, right? So, right, some of us we're not zochet to go to yeshiva at all. Depends on who you are, right? So me and Jimmy were in the same place over there. We started out together. He was a little bit ahead of me. Okay, so anyway, right? So what happened was that 1,000 people go in. So the Chazal say, how does that now get divided up? These 1,000 people, right? They say that, what do they start to learn when they go in? They start to learn Aleph Bet and then Bible, Tanakh, Chumash. That's what they start. How many people get to Mishnah? Right? The next level. They say only 100 get to it, right? Meaning what? 900 only are not zoche to learn the Mishnah. They're only zoche to learn a little bit Bible, whatever. Or some of it, or all of it, whatever it is. The buck stops there, right? Then they go to work. 900 like that. Only 100 are zoche to learn Mishnah. What does that mean? The oral Torah. This is the idea, right? As we said. Commentaries, halachot, only 100. How many people are zoche to learn Talmud from that 1,000? So it says the Chazal, only 10 of them. It's a very small group, So what are we talking about? We're talking about, 1%, right? That's it, 1%,
1% of 1,000.
Right, that's it. They're the only ones. So what does that mean? Those guys who are learning in yeshiva, learning Talmud, over here, this yeshiva, that yeshiva, we have all kinds of yeshivot. They're basically 1%ers, these guys. They're the chosen of the chosen. That's the idea, right? Creme de la creme, these guys. They're considered to be very, very high level, That's why we have a mitzvah to respect them also, right? The guys who are learning in yeshiva, we have to show them respect. Even though they're young, they're young. Yeah, he's a young punk, I have to respect this guy. He's 18 years old. Yeah, but he sits and learns Torah all day, Excuse me. You have to he's a Talmid Chacham. You have to give him respect to the Talmid Chacham. That's not the highest level of Talmid Chacham. That's a little lower level of Talmid Chacham. So you have to respect a person like that. You have to give him kavod. Some does that mean you have to stand up for him? No, you don't have to stand up. Somebody who learns Gemara, if he passes by you, you don't have an obligation to get up. Not yet, right? We're not there yet. So then what happens like this? Now, there's also another group which is left over, right? Which is the group which is left over? The ones who become posek, right? The render decisions in halacha. How many people wind up rendering decisions in halacha? Only 1 out of 1,000, right? 0.1%. That's the idea, right? So what does that mean? That 1 out of 1,000 comes out to be a real chacham, a real posek, somebody who renders decisions in halacha. It's very rare. But you see from there also another angle of this, right? Which is what? That they say that all that 1,000 that we just accounted for now, it only works if 1,000 going in. But if there's not 1,000 going in, there's not even going to be one. Like that. You understand? So what does that mean? The zechut of that 1,000 is what gives you that one guy that comes out the best. But if you don't have 1,000, you may not even have one guy. That's the idea, right? So that's always the truth, by the way. You should know that the rabbis, how do they become big Torah? The zechut of the tzibur is what makes them big, of the community. What does that mean? HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants somebody to be their leader. So it's because of their zechut that he turned out like that. But if there isn't even 1,000 people, nobody's going to turn out like that. Because there's no community, right? You don't have a community. That's the idea, right? So because of that, it's going to have a big blank. Right? So in terms of, you understand? So this is the way it turns out. The Chazal teaches us, that this is considered to be, so therefore, right, what is a real Talmid Chacham, according to Halacha? This one guy, that's the real Talmid Chacham. Moreh Hora, right? The one who paskins halachot. The rest of them are not called Talmid Chacham, really. Even the one who learns Talmud, he's considered to be somewhat of a Talmid Chacham, on a lower level, but the real Talmid Chacham is that one guy who became Moreh Hora, became a posek. That's the real Talmid Chacham. The rest of them, So what does that mean? That the obligation to stand up for a Chacham is only for a guy like that, really. Right? When he passes by you, your Daled Amot, your 4 Amot, what does that mean? Like within 2 meters of you, you got to really stand up for this guy. You got to give him kavod also. There's all kinds of rules for a person like that. But a person who hasn't reached this level, okay, we don't have to stand up for him. But if he's learning Talmud, or even if he's learning Mishnah, by the way, and sits and learns, seriously, you have to give him respect for that. You have to respect him. No question about that, right? Because a person like that is devoted to Torah, whatever. Okay, that's the idea. Let's go on a little bit, Rabbi. So as we said, now comes and tells you Shulchan Aruch that we said a person has to do 1/3 Tanakh, 1/3 Mishnah, and 1/3 Talmud. But that's only in the beginning. What does that mean? Until he acquires the whole knowledge of the Tanakh and the Mishnah. Once he does that, he knows the whole thing. In our generation, by the way, this is very rare, that somebody knows everything. Maybe we're talking about 10 people in a generation, right, who have this level. That they know everything already. They learn, because mostly people today are not acquiring such knowledge like that. But nevertheless, if he gets to that level, where he now knows everything, he learned all the sources, so what's the next step for him? So now, it says the Shulchan Aruch, he should sit and learn Talmud all day, pretty much. Derivation, Chidushim, Paskin Halachot, to render decisions in Halakha. This is what a person has to do. Because why? Now he pretty much knows the Torah. So once in a while he should do a little bit review, so that he shouldn't forget the sources, but most of his time should be devoted to what? To Talmud. This is the idea, right? This is the way it should be. So now, right, question comes up, what about learning Kabbalah? Right? What about that? We didn't talk about that yet. The truth is, the Shulchan Aruch doesn't even mention that. What does that mean? That Kabbalah is something hidden, Not everybody learns Kabbalah. Not like today, they have these Kabbalah centers, these fake people. Right? These people are making business out of the Kabbalah. This is not Kabbalah. This is Babala, Jabala, Jandaba, that's what it is. You have to stay away from these people, by the way, you should know. Because these people they're hunters, they hunt souls. And they bring people over there into these places, and they do all kinds of damage to them, brainwash them. These are cults, these places today, the Kabbalah centers. They had one over here in Rego Park, they had one in Hollywood, California, they had one over there. All the movie stars that go there, and go in there, it's ridiculous. Kabbalah, what Kabbalah? So comes and tells you the Ramah over here, regarding Kabbalah, he brings from the Rambam. Who should be learning Kabbalah, right? Who's allowed to learn Kabbalah? Only a person who's a master in Halakha, first of all. What does that mean? He knows all the rules that are practical today in Halakha, Shulchan Aruch, Rambam, right? He knows all these things very, very well. If he's really expert in the Isur and Heter, and he knows the rules of practical daily life that a person has to live under, once he gets that level, then he can learn Kabbalah. But a person who didn't get that level, and he's learning Kabbalah, and he's talking about it, and bragging. There are some people who like to brag about that also, Oh yeah, I learned Kabbalah, this and that, and all kinds of things. You should know, by the way, that people who talk a lot about Kabbalah, they don't know nothing about Kabbalah. You should know. That's the general rule, right? The ones who know it don't talk about it too much. The ones who don't know it always are talking about it, just the opposite, right, of what it should be. So it tells you the Ramah over here also, that a person who goes into Kabbalah too early, he's not ready yet to go into Kabbalah. Yeah, he can go a little bit nuts also, it's true. There are some people who are nuts like that, right? They lost their minds. Even in our generation, by the way, there were some people who lost their minds like that. I know one of them. You know what happened to him? His brother, right, is a Mekubal, this guy. And he was also studying Kabbalah. His brother succeeded. He became Rosh Yeshiva. He has a yeshiva in Jerusalem, Kabbalistic yeshiva. Very good, doing very well. But what happened was that his brother went nuts. Lost his mind. So you know what happened with this guy? He lost his family too. He had to divorce his wife because he lost it. He had to give a get to his wife. His wife was going around looking for a husband. This is what happened to a person like this. Even in our generation. But nevertheless, right, even if you don't go crazy, right, whatever it is, says the Ramah also that there's a judgment over here also. A person gets judged for that. They judge him, they punish him for learning Kabbalah too early. So a person has to know, there's a place and time for everything. Don't try to get ahead of yourself. If you try to get ahead of yourself and try to go into a place where you don't belong there, you get punished for that. That's what it says in the Ramah, right? It's brought down in many poskim. There's all kinds of material about that. I don't want to get into it too much now, right now. Okay, let's go on a little bit. We'll do a little bit more. So it goes on to say, regarding, right, taking money for teaching Torah. The truth is, right, the Chazal said, just like you receive the Torah for free on Har Sinai, you should also teach it for free. That's what they said, So really the ideal thing would be that a person should teach Torah for free. You shouldn't charge for that. A person is able to do that, Ashrev, right? This is really considered to be a big tzaddik. This is really the right way. But what about if a person cannot do that? He has no parnasah, right? He can't pay his rent. So how do you expect this guy to come and teach when he doesn't have a home? His children need to have a home. He needs to have a place, right, to send them to yeshiva. He's got to pay his expenses. So how do you expect him to teach for free? He doesn't have parnasah, right? So the rule is like this. If you have parnasah, you really should teach for free. Not allowed to charge for that. In most cases, right? There are some cases you're allowed to charge, depending on what you teach. If you're teaching Bible, like a school teacher, like, teachers like kids, a little grade school teacher. He's allowed to take a salary, for sure. Nobody works today without a salary in those places, in these schools. They all take salaries. But we're talking about somebody who's teaching, above that a little bit, right? More like oral Torah, Mishnah, Gemara, Talmud. So they say a person like that, really, if he has parnasah, if he's wealthy, he's got investments, he's got stocks, bonds, right, hedge funds, he's got all kinds of things. He's nice, he's living good. So a person like that should take money for what? For teaching Gemara to somebody? Not allowed to do that. It's a sin. Not allowed to do that. It's a really, but if he doesn't have parnasah, so then he has no choice. He has to take, So it's better, what does that mean? It's better that a person should teach and take money than he should go out and work and not teach at all, because we're going to lose his Torah. So practically speaking, today we have to be more practical. What does that mean? That if a person doesn't have parnasah, we have to give him enough parnasah that he should be able to sit and devote his life to teaching Torah to the community. The community is obligated to do that, right? To pay him for that. They should have a fund for that. That's the idea, right? Not like today, there are, some communities that do everything the opposite way. What does that mean? They're more concerned about, putting marble into the walls, and fancy, building fancy edifices, all kinds of things like this. The really smart people, in Judaism, they're not worried about marble and, fancy cedar wood. They're concerned about Talmidei Chachamim, there should be Torah in the place. That's what keeps the place alive. Not your fancy marble and granite and all kinds of things like that. There has to be priorities. A person has to know what the priorities are. Priority should be first for Torah, not for fancy buildings and fancy things like this. There's a story regarding that, that they say that in Paras, in Persia, what happened was that they built a very fancy shul over there. The Persians like to make nice shuls, right? Everything comes out good. Baruch Hashem. So what happened was that they built like a shul and it cost them like $10 million. It was a very fancy place. In those days, it was considered to be a lot of money. Today, $10 million is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. But in those days, this was like, we're talking about 40 years ago, right? This was a lot of money in that time. So what happened was, right, that they invited my rabbi, they invited him over there to see the shul. They showed him. They said, "Oh, look at this, fancy place. We have this." So he told them, he says, "Okay, you made a nice, beautiful building, but where's the yeshiva? Where's the kollel? Where's the Talmud Torah? Where's the learning? Is there learning going on over here?" So they said, "Oh, not yet. They barely even had a minyan." You know what I mean? So the rabbi told them, he says, "This is not going to turn out good. What you did, what you did. You spent all the money into the building, and nothing into teaching Torah in this place. A very bad decision, very poor decision. So he told them, he says, in the end, it's not going to turn out good. And so you know what happened, right? The Iranian Revolution happened. Khomeini came, took over, and all the Jews had to leave. So they left that building empty. Nothing got left over in that building. You understand? This is what happens when you allocate the money into the wrong into the wrong places. A person has to know where to allocate the money. That's the idea, right? That's the idea. Okay, we got the idea of it. So a person is allowed to take money if he has no parnasah. But if he has parnasah, the bottom line is he should not take money for that. Okay, very good. So let's go on. Another very important rule that the teachers over here, Shulchan Aruch, is that a person is not allowed to teach Torah to a talmid who's a bad boy. Right? What does it mean, bad boy? This boy's a sinner, We're not talking about he's a little bit chutzpah or something like that. All the kids are chutzpah today, You have a kid who's not a chutzpah, right? So if you kick out all the chutzpah kids, there won't be anybody left over to teach. If you're sitting by yourself, right? That's the idea, right? So what does that mean? But if you have a talmid who's, you see that the guy he's a sinner, he doesn't behave properly. He doesn't behave like a good Jew. He does things in public which are not proper, sinful things, doesn't care to show himself like that. He's not embarrassed. He has no shame. A person like this, they say that you're not allowed to teach him Torah. There's something very deep about this you should know, by the way, according to Kabbalah. So what does that mean? That they say, there's a story like this also brought down in the name of Rav Shach. So you know what they say, right? That it says in the Zohar Kadosh that all the Torah that this person learns, if he's a sinner, this person, it goes to Satan, it goes to Sitra Achra, all the Torah. Instead of going to the good side, it goes to Sitra Achra. This is exactly what Rav Shach said. You know what happened? They say, about 80 years ago, when Rav Shach was alive, when he was young, what happened was that there was started to be like this trend that the wives of the Talmidei Chachamim, the Avrechim, they were learning in yeshivot, in the kollels, their wives were wearing short skirts, like almost mini, kind of thing, like short skirts, mini skirts. So they told him about this. They came to Rabbi, they told him, they said, the wives of these rabbis are wearing miniskirts. So, Rav Shach, when he heard this, he was in shock. Can you imagine something like this? So you know what he told them, right? He told the people, he said, close down all those yeshiva, close them down. Close down all those kollels. Better that they should be closed down. Why is that? Because if a person has a no irat shamayim, not God-fearing person, and he's learning Torah, all his Torah goes to Sitra Achra, goes to Satan. That's what he told them. That's exactly what we're talking about over here. This is the reason why a person is not allowed to teach a Talmid who is not, doesn't behave properly. So what do we do with him? You know what we do? We tell him like this. You know what? We see that you're not behaving properly. Fix up your act, get your act together, and we'll take you back. Meanwhile, we can't teach you. Right now, the way you're behaving, we'll give you a month, get your act together, settle your problems, get rid of your issues. Come back and we'll take you back. Don't throw them out like, forever. Tell them, don't come back, shut the door, get out, It's not like that. You have to be gentle. But a person has to know, right? That, but the truth is that today, by the way, you should know, since we have these children who come from families that are disadvantaged in terms of Torah, they don't have education, they don't have the proper upbringing in the house, the proper atmosphere in the house. So people like that, we don't tell them, oh, go and come back. They'll never come back like that. And what does that mean? That these people are Baalei Tshuva, they don't have even the fundamentals of Torah. So people like that, we have to take them, whatever they are. These kids who grew up in disadvantaged families, we can't judge them. You know what I mean? We take them the way you are, we take you, right? Whatever it is, we'll work with you. Don't reject anybody. That's the idea. Everybody should be taken in. Unless he's dangerous, whatever. He's a danger to the community, whatever. He's like a violent or something like that, something really, really, severe. Drug addict, something like that. We cannot take people like that, obviously, right? But because he's going to ruin the whole atmosphere in the yeshiva. But in terms of the kids, who are not like up to par with their performance, and they come from families that are not religious, we should take them. Because these people are not doing on their own volition. They don't know what they're doing. It's like a person who doesn't know nothing. So your job is to take them and to develop them. Not to tell them, we'll see you later. When you become religious, come back. You'll never become religious like that. That's the idea, right? So a person has to know how to apply these things to the right situation, right? Okay, Rabbi. So we're going to go 2 more minutes and we'll stop. There's a lot more to cover, but we're not going to cover everything tonight. Also, right, the other way around tells you as well. Shulchan Aruch. What does that mean? That if you see a Talmid Chacham, a rabbi, who doesn't behave properly, so we're not allowed to learn from that rabbi either, any Torah. Same, it goes both ways, right? It's a two-way street, right? If the Talmid is bad, we cannot really teach him, Also, if the rabbi is bad, we cannot learn from him either. You should know, by the way, that if the rabbi is bad, and he's a bad seed, he's a sinner, doesn't behave properly. You see, right, the way he behaves. He doesn't keep halacha, he doesn't, right, behave the way of the Torah. Doesn't behave like that. So a person like that, what do we tell him? We tell him, listen, we're sorry, but we cannot learn from you. You should know, by the way, that if you learn from a person like this, who's not Yirat Shamayim, your Torah will be distorted, convoluted, your Torah will become. Because that person has a lot of distorted things in his mind. He doesn't have a clean mind. If a person is really Yirat Shamayim, if he has a clean mind, you should learn from him. Why? Because everything he says is true. But if a person is 50-50, a little bit over here, a little bit over there, he's a little bit too modern, a little bit too, not serious in Torah, not serious the way he behaves. He doesn't keep halacha himself. The way he prays is not according to halacha. The way he behaves is not according to halacha. What can you learn from a rabbi like that? Everything, 50% of what you're going to get from him is all garbage. Excuse the expression. He's going to misguide you. He's going to guide you into the wrong. Just like he's in the wrong direction, he's also going to guide you in the wrong direction. So there's no way to learn from a rabbi like that. You understand? A rabbi has to be. You know what they say, right? In order to make the point, I'll tell you. They say the Chazal that if the rabbi that you're learning from, if he looks like an angel of God, so then learn from him Torah. If he doesn't look like an angel of God, don't learn from him Torah. Such a big standard like this, who can keep such a standard? Everybody's looking at the angel. What's the idea over here, right? So the idea is like this. You should know that a rabbi who's really like an angel, he's strict and he keeps everything on himself as well, not only on others, on himself, first of all, right? If he's like that, you should know all his Torah is pure. Everything you're going to get from him is 100%. clean, no byproducts, no fillers, right? No artificial ingredients. But if the rabbi himself is not so clean, so obviously right then also his Torah is not going to be so clean. So you're going to get a distorted product, as we said, right? So that's the idea. So if he doesn't look like an angel, that's what the Torah, don't learn from him. Why? Because if he doesn't look like a malach to you, that means he's just like you, just like you're not perfect, he's also not perfect. So if he's not perfect, how can you learn from him, from Torah? You need to get the Torah 100% pure. This is the idea. This is halakha. In other words, what we're talking about. Okay, that's the idea with that. So we're going to stop, but just let's see what we can fill in over here. I guess we'll say one more word over here, one more halakha. It says like this, right? That a rabbi who teaches his talmidim Torah, there's one thing he has to be very, very careful about. You know what that is? That he shouldn't get angry with them, lose his temper. You know what I mean? There are some people like this, they know a lot of Torah, they know very well, but they lose it, when they see somebody not behaving, they give it to him, They unload all their frustrations on this guy. What that does is when you do that, you tend to reject people like that. People run away from you. That's what they said, right? That lo kaftan melamed. What does that mean? A person who's very strict, and too right, harsh with the talmidim, he cannot teach talmidim like that. A person like that, he's not qualified. Why is that? Every time he's going to unload on them, they're going to run away from him, and they're going to lose the Torah like that altogether. So the truth is, that a rabbi who has this problem, has an anger problem, you should not be a teacher. Better they should go and sit somewhere else and do another job. Don't teach the community if you have an anger problem. First, you got to deal with your anger. If you're an anger problem, don't be a teacher. That's right. And right. But also the other way around as well. They say, right. When it comes to talmidim, also, there's also a problem with the talmidim. You know what it is? Some of the talmidim are baishan. You know what that means? They're ashamed. They can't. They're embarrassed to ask questions. In our class, we don't have a problem with that. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. So the truth is, there are some boys like this who are baishan, shy boy. They don't want to ask any questions. Just sit there and let the time pass. But you cannot learn like that Torah. That's what Torah teaches you, right? Just like the one who's too harsh on the students cannot teach them. Also a talmid who's too shy and can't ask questions because of that. If you don't ask questions, you're not going to get clarity. Sometimes the rabbi tells you something, you don't understand what he's talking about, So, sounds to you like gibberish, like Chinese. So if you don't ask him to clarify the issue, what's going to come out of that, right? You're not going to learn nothing like that. You know what I mean? This is the idea. So a person shouldn't think, what it said like, what does Yetzer Hara tell him? A person like this, it tells him Yetzer Hara, you know what? If I now stop the class and I ask the rabbi, everybody's going to get upset at me, they're going to be all staring at me, I'm going to get embarrassed. What are you embarrassed about? Don't be shy. If you have a question, ask the rabbi. That's what the class is for. To get clarity and everything. So this is also a person who has a shy attitude like this. He gets blocked from learning. He can't learn like that. You have to be a little bit arrogant, when it comes to that. Ask a question. Go for it. Jump in. Ask if you have something pertinent. But you know what? There's also a mistake that people make. You know what a mistake is? They start asking about other things. If they're talking about apples now, don't now start asking about oranges. You know what I mean? You're disrupting the class like that. You have to know when to ask and how to ask, right? That's the idea. So a person has to know that when they're talking about this topic, don't now ask about a different topic. You're totally shifting over the whole thing into something else. So what should a person do? If he wants to ask about a different topic, wait till the end of the class, you know what I mean? And then ask. But don't disrupt the whole topic like that by changing gears, going into, you were in third gear, now going into fifth gear, overdrive, What? We were in third gear, excuse me, I'm sorry, You have to know where we are. A person has to know how to ask a question. You have to ask something which is pertinent to the subject. Also, they say, by the way, there's also something else over here. We're going to talk about that later, right? We have to do a different class. But the truth is also there's an issue like this that sometimes a talmid asks a question which is not really relevant to the topic. And what happens is the rabbi gets embarrassed. Why? Because he doesn't know about that topic. He didn't study that. He didn't prepare that topic. He's not prepared to talk about that. So you now get him into a different topic, you know what I mean? He may not be able to answer, you're embarrassing him like that. That's what I say, right? That a person who's asking a question, I'm not talking about a practical halakha. Because if you're asking practical halakha, the rabbi has to answer every question you give him. That's what the rabbi is for. That's his job. If he doesn't do that, get a different job. You know, go to 47th Street. You know, go do a different job. But we're talking about, you're asking a question like theoretical question, not practical question. So when it comes to a theoretical question, you shouldn't ask a rabbi about something which you didn't prepare. You may be able to answer, embarrassing him. You know, this is also halakha that we learn right about time. We have a lot more to do. It's not Hashem Kadosh Baruch Hu should help us to do a couple more classes in this, and we'll cover 1 or 2 more classes. We'll cover everything with the help of Hashem. I want to wish you guys, by the way, a good, happy New Year, prosperous New Year, wealth, health, and happiness, and all the good things. You should see only good tidings for you and your family. With Hashem, Baruch Adonai Leolam, Amen, Amen. Chazak u'Baruch. Thanks for coming. God bless.